ready.
We're here and we're doing it. We're live today. It is Soundboard Sundays, episode 42, Mental Health Check-In Day. Why? Because your mental health is directly connected to your physical health.
Yes.
To your success as an emerging music producer, as an emerging singer-songwriter. They all go together. So many times we've seen artists, right? Our version of successful artists. I mean, if you know them on a public platform, they're deemed successful. But they're human beings. They got stuff going on in their minds. And honestly, nobody takes the time to say, how are you doing? You know what I'm saying? So I want to just start this thing off today with asking Max and everybody in the audience. Kim, you're in the audience. How's everybody doing today?
Man, I'm good. I should say I'm good. Not really much to complain about. I notice how every moment is a blessing, especially when you think you need something,
right? But
you have everything you need. You just gotta remind yourself, man, I got a roof over my head. I got food in the fridge. Remembering times when I didn't have at all, and all of these things count, man. Have clothes, so yeah, that's definitely a blessing. There's a blessing behind everything I'm going through.
Yeah, man. Kim Lee said, did anybody hear about Pluto being in orbit for the past week? Jeez. And this was throwing people off? No, I didn't. I didn't even hear that. I've been extremely consumed in a good way, I believe. Extremely consumed with the putting together this masterclass, this how to make a $2.3 million beat in 3 days. It's a masterclass, and just doing all the back end work for it, not even the teaching, but the back end work for it, creating content, posting videos, reaching out to people, getting people engaged. It's just completely consumed my life specifically. And, you know, sidebar, that's what Soundboard Sundays is sponsored by, is how to make a $2.3 million beat in 3 days, a masterclass that I am hosting, a live masterclass that I'm hosting on March 23rd, 24th, and 25th of this month. Guys, registration closes today at 11:59. So you want to tap in. The link will be in my bio. And Max, tell them on your end.
Yes, it's brought to you by my 30-day branding challenge, helping emerging artists specifically with the ability to create content, with the ability to have to speak to their core audience directly, and the ability to also structure whenever it comes down to an EP, an album, or a new single release. So have the proper structure when it comes to that rollout. And I have two options. So first option is general admissions, which is $97. You get to join, you get the 30-day challenge with 10 books to read and 10 podcasts to listen to. And if ever you feel like you want to invest more, you want to learn more about the 30-day challenge or have more details with people who have the same mindset as you, then you can go with the $247 option, which is the VIP. You get to have access to my private community. On top of that, you also ask a few questions. I'll be able to answer them. And we have a call once a month via Zoom.
Hey!
Click the link in the bio and you'll get access to all of that.
Amazing. Right, so going back to what we were talking about, let's see. Is it Jerry L? What's good, brother? What's good? Good to see you. So Kimmy said, so Pluto being in orbit, this led to a lot of people having to deal with their stuff. I didn't know that. I mean, I don't get all into that, like, you know, into astrology or the astrological things. But, you know, the flip side, as a man who, you know, again, I believe wholeheartedly in the scriptures being me. That's for me. I believe in the wholeheartedly that the scriptures is true, clear evidence. And with that, because she brings this up, with that, I'm like, if all of these elements were created by the same creator, there has to be some level of connection going on. You know, I mean, not even to be off topic, but I've definitely heard ladies, you know, I've heard this going both ways though, but I've definitely heard of ladies like their cycle being sometimes in tune with the moon and stuff like that or something. I don't know. Have you heard that?
Yeah, 100%. I've heard that.
why you say yeah for real, man? Yeah. So I mean, I don't know how much it's got to do with it, but I mean, I know that the ocean and stuff like that, like how what the moon is doing and all that type of stuff. I know that these creations they're interconnected, you know, and so I don't know. I mean, that definitely could be something going on. I mean, I believe that, you know, once we have some folks kind of chiming on in, that it's juste, or is it's just E? Either way, you know what I'm saying? Glad that you're in the building today. Right. So talking about book bars. We got the book bars. I gotta be honest. I gotta come up to the pulpit, to the Soundboard Sundays pulpit, and say I do not have a book bar this week because it has been extremely wild. Like I said earlier, you know, doing all the promotion, doing all the content, getting ready, gearing up for this masterclass. That's going to be amazing. Going to level up sample-based music producers. Going to shorten down like 15 years of learning and research and practice, and we're going to condense that thing into 3 days. So that's why I don't have a book bar. I extremely apologize for that. Nelly Mars was good. Let's say some Step 273. And the Empress, what's good? The Empress is always in the building. Blessings to you. Blessings to you. Soundboard Sundays for folks just joining in. We are checking in on music producers, emerging music producers, and emerging singer-songwriters, because it's not all just about business. We want to know how you are doing. And a little bit later on in the show, probably in about 15 minutes or so, what we want to do is open up the floor, hear how everybody's doing. Like, you know, if you want to go live, press 1 so we can see that. We want to have you come on, share your wins. You know, we'll rally behind you if you got some losses, and honestly, just, you know, you want to tap in and chime in on the subject that we're talking about today. There will be some time for that, so stick around. Okay, go ahead, Max. You were saying something.
Yes, sir. So the my book bar for today's Soundboard Sunday is at page 90 of the book Profit First from Matty Max, and he towards the second paragraph he talks about the importance of, let me tell you exactly where it is. Okay, he says the dream all entrepreneurs have, and when he says entrepreneurs, I'm talking directly to music producers and singer-songwriters. The dream all entrepreneurs have, that our business will improve the quality of our lives, not destroy it, is being lived by Jorge. That's how you say it in Hispanic, I think. Yeah, that's pretty much how they say it, Jorge or Jorge. And Jose. They do not serve their business. He says they do not serve their business serves them. And when I read that, it made me think of the idea of, you know, not sacrificing your health for what you're doing. Not necessarily, you could go all in, however, you still got to remind yourself how, you know, you are here to serve the entity you're creating. You are here to serve the people you're blessed to serve, and all of that. Not force yourself to say, okay, you know what, I'm gonna go overboard and do what I can't necessarily control. Right.
I like that. You know what I'm saying? It's really perfect for. I think I heard it today. I think there was. Okay, I'm just reading it. Okay. Yeah. That's the whole thing. Is like it segues into. Do you remember the guys? So me and Max pretty much over the weekend we were challenged. It got brought to my attention. I heard that anxiety is necessary for creativity, and I'm summing that up
Mm.
Anxiety is necessary for creativity. So, me and Max, what was the name of the woman?
Sarah
Name
Wilson.
of the woman?
Sarah Wilson.
Sarah Wilson. Okay, cool. So Sarah Wilson is on. I forgot how to you say this guy's name, but he's a YouTuber called. His name is Tom. Like almost Bellew.
Yeah, exactly. Bellew.
Right. Yeah, Bellew. So he's got a podcast, and so he had Sarah Wilson, who she's got a lot of accolades and things like that. But long story short, their conversation was around mental health because she wrote a book about it, talking about anxiety. And so part of, like, I guess the caption is, talking about sugar and talking about diet. But what was really interesting was when she talked about how anxiety, she talked about how, like, when people who think out of the box,
Right.
thank you, the impact theory, thank you. When people who are thinking out of the box, there is a level of not normalness, right? That you have to have so that you can think out of what everybody's doing. And so she just found it out. But y'all, honestly, like I said, mind you, guys, I have to say this, that Max and I are not mental health doctors. We are not licensed therapists. We are not psychologists. These are just our thoughts and experiences that we are sharing with the public. If you are in need right now and having suicidal thoughts or something like that, you need to reach out to a professional immediately. Anyways, but she was just talking about, like, how, modern day society wants you to take pills and wants you to get on this, I guess, this even sort of line. And that's not how we have, like, master inventors, master, painters, master creatives doing what is going to be valuable work, leaders, even there needs to be this level of, like, of anxiousness and anxiety and stuff like that. And that was, like, the first time I've heard, somebody from the European diaspora say that. Now, again, me and my folks, we haven't had a bunch of time to sit with how we are feeling on a mental illness perspective and all of the things that we've been through during that, colonial, imperial, time frame or whatever like that. But I do wonder what our people, in the different African diaspora, what people were doing prior to, the colonial, because there is history. We've got history prior to slavery and all that type of stuff like that. So just being a student of people, I'm wondering, like, what were people doing? Max, do you, like, okay, so you've got, like, Congolese parents, like real legit Congolese parents and stuff like that.
Right.
How prevalent is mental health, talked about in your household? I mean, do you ever hear about it? Tell me about that.
That's a great question. I would say not even close to being a thought. That's like, it's almost to a certain extent, I feel like a lot of people in our culture look at it as a mosquito bite, as in, okay, something happened and it's just going to go away. And by doing something outside of acknowledging something happened or that there's a problem, you're almost creating a trauma response. Okay, let me go back to this job I got and just work harder. Let me do this for my child and overindulge on something, create some sort of happiness. While in the midst of all of it, there's still a root that you did not necessarily challenge or you did not fix. That's gonna grow into a bigger problem. So that's something I realized a lot from my parents, especially for them to not show me any weaknesses. However, I still see that there's things that they gotta unpack and be honest about, and I always challenge them to do so, even if it's in the smallest way possible. And I feel like that makes them a better people to a certain extent. The way
how do they receive you? Because obviously you're born in the West.
Yeah.
So how do they receive that? Are they, kind of like, shut up, Max? You know what I'm saying? or are they kind of receptive to it as the years go by?
I believe it's the
More
second,
receptive, excuse me.
yeah. I believe it's the second point you touched. Now, the way they do it, based on what I observe, is that they won't necessarily take it serious as I bring it up, but they'll change it a little bit with their actions, just by, acknowledging, okay, I have something to say, and then
Right.
they might change a little bit of their approach on a way they look at a thing, or the way they talk about a certain scenario or whatever. But it has to do with their actions changing by 1%. I noticed that a little bit more.
Right. And Kim Lee said that their covered weakness affects you more than they think. So guys, I had an interview with the brother Anero, who has a podcast called Side Piece Seasons, and he talks about, again, he's talks about the fact that he was a side piece, and been married, been a side piece, all those types of things. I think he's pretty forthcoming about that. Yeah. But we were just talking about the fact that men do not, or this idea of Western masculinity is not expressing your emotions. The idea of, I remember Kevin Hart talking about his uncle or whatever like that in one of his comedy routines who didn't cry, and the uncle at his sister Kevin Hart's mother, Kevin Hart's mother's funeral, he was just like, man, just like really trying to, like really feeling that emotion, but not being taught how to express it in a constructive way, right? And that stuff, that stuff is not knowing how to express how you're feeling on the inside, specifically as a man, is absolutely detrimental to your health. And it might even be detrimental to somebody else's health, because a lot of the times we can't express it, right? What are we going to do? We're going to go out and express it maybe violently to somebody else, maybe take it out on children, maybe take it out on a spouse, somebody who's been there for us and they don't actually understand, because we're just like, you are not supposed to be crying. And I told Anero, I said, man, like, I'm not the biggest crier and stuff like that. I'm not the biggest for like pain. Like, I don't like, I'm not big on like physical pain cry, but internal pain, I still have a certain threshold, and it can be pretty high, not necessarily for positive in a positive way, but it can be really high. And I might not necessarily, like shed no tears, but it's really, that's what I said, is this. I said, knowing that like to cry does not make me like less of a man, less of like a punk, or more of a punk, should I say, was imperative. Because I'm like, I need to know that I can express my emotions, and that I will lay somebody down should they bother my family or my loved ones. And I think that's that healthy medium, you know what I'm saying, or medium, which is like, look, like, be as emotional as you desire to be, obviously within moderation, because we were talking about that too. You know what I'm saying? Is that in general, from what I've seen, is that women who they don't want a man who is like all over the place. They don't want a man who's all over the place. But we talked about it too, and guys, we don't want a female, a woman who's all over the place. You know what I'm saying? Like we know that in general, we'll give women a little bit more room to express their emotions. Right. Damien, tell me what's good. We'll give women a little bit more room to express their emotions, but at the same token, it's like we know that women don't want us to be all over the place, but they do want us to share our emotions. They do want to be, I'm talking about women that you're intimate with, or whatever like that. They do want to be let in, and figuring out what is that healthy place, especially for guys who we don't get, we get like being emotional, sharing stuff with your lady. That's some old sucker stuff. You know what I'm saying? I've definitely had that reinforced with some of my homies, when I was a lot younger, not knowing. Jacob Padre, what's good? Not knowing how to articulate my emotions, but again, having that healthy place is really important.
There you go.
Yeah.
Just acknowledging that, okay, certain things were all right in the past. Certain things weren't all right in the past, and now today, those things, what we look at as a weakness is today's strength. Like mental health discussions nowadays. I see that a lot more often, and people tend to want to open up, or even they feel like it's important for them, not only because they want to have the safe mental. Not only because they want to have a safe mental health, but they want to have a group of people who could think like them and even inspire in a certain way. Where like, okay, you know what? Let's be in a healthy home. Let's be in a healthy environment where we don't always have to create some sort of friction. Let's not always point each other's fingers and say, okay, what you should do and what you could have done. So there's a lot to it that we could be proud of, based on how things are evolving in society. Even if in the grander scheme we look at it as of, okay, no, there's not many things evolving, but I feel like there's a lot of things that are evolving, so to speak.
Yeah, man. Even from what you said about that, like, it just reminded me that in the podcast with Sarah Wilson, is that she said that, like, on a data perspective, like, bipolar, like real true bipolarity is not really on the rise. It's not really on the rise as much as it's been pretty consistent, and it's kind of like in some lower numbers. What she did say though is that, like, anxiousness, is normal people just dealing with a lot more anxiousness in life is definitely like turning up. You know what I'm saying? And again, everybody got their perspective, but I look at the scriptures, y'all. You know what I'm saying? I look at the scriptures and I'm like, well, it does say in these end times, in these last days, that men in terms of human beings, men's hearts would fail them because of fear. There's going to be wars and rumors of wars, all this, that, the other type of stuff. And I'm just like, man, wow, it's crazy. Believe what you like to believe. But I'm just like, man, it's crazy because this stuff seems like it's happening and people don't have a solid foundation, or they don't have an understanding that anxiety or being anxious is actually a part of life. Right, Max? We were talking earlier about how she talked about, and I want you to go ahead and speak on that, but how she talked about identifying that when you have a panic attack, right, that there's a time frame for it. So you know what I'm saying? Speak to the people about that real quickly.
Yes, that's interesting, because she said how anxiety, and I wrote that down, excitement and anxiety stimulate the same part of the brain.
Right.
And after a period of time, once you have your first panic attack, what happens is that it lasts only 20 to 30 minutes. And sometimes we think that, having a panic attack, because I believe I've had one. However, I did not necessarily know how to put words into it and even identify it properly. So like, right, once we know that we had a panic attack and it lasts 20 to 30 minutes, what happens is that your next panic attack will last about 20 to 30 minutes, and you will have an idea how long it lasts. So what you could do is that you could reframe how you approach, or how you react to that panic attack, right? By having a certain way to reframe it, or a certain perspective to look at it, you could say, hey, look, I've dealt with it the first time. It lasts 20 to 30 minutes. What's next? What's gonna be worse than 20, 30 minutes? Because I've already dealt with it once or twice. So the third time's not gonna be that much of a big deal.
Yeah, no. Can you, if you feel comfortable, would you be able to express or kind of do you remember the events that led up to that panic attack? Because I think that that's really, really, really important.
Yeah.
I feel like I had a panic attack too. We talked about that one Soundboard Sundays, but what led up to that? Because that's extremely important to identify. Is how do you go from I'm doing good to I feel like my chest is like getting tight, and I'm like I got all these thoughts kind of running around. So go ahead, yeah.
Yeah, it was one of the Soundboard Sundays we talked about when I shared how I was stuck at this job that I hated. And right before I had because I had night terrors. I had 2 night terrors while I was at that job. And there was a moment when I was taking the train and I felt like, my breath, like I was breathing very fast and I couldn't necessarily control it, but I had to take moments where, that specific day, when my breath was really going fast and I couldn't really necessarily breathe that fast, I couldn't necessarily breathe that well.
Right.
I had to get out the train and really look at my surroundings and figure out a solution if ever something was going to happen. But I didn't necessarily know how it was going to, how it's going to end up, because I didn't know it was going to be serious enough to really be, considered a panic attack. So I'd say it was like my mind racing and getting to a point where I felt like I was going to have that panic attack. And to answer your question, it was really the fact that I was at that job. I felt like I couldn't get another job because of how my schedule was, because I had to go to school and work at the same time. So it was like to squeeze in and have a job that was paying me enough to pay the bills and, do what I had to do in order to make sure I maintained school. That was the challenging part.
Yes. Samard or Samard.
Let me see if I could see.
L6 was good. Yeah. So that's extremely important. Kim Lee says, I had one panic attack and it was a pretty bad one. I avoided any situation like that. And I used lavender oil to help me calm down. So when I'm assuming that when you're saying, Kim Lee, that you avoided any situation, I avoided any situation like that. What I'm interpreting that is saying that you, and you can help clarify it in the comments, but that you, like that you, in the future, you avoided, maybe you're saying that you avoided the circumstances that led up to that panic attack. Hopefully that's what you're saying.
Peace.
Hey, side piece season. And Nero, we were just talking about you, bro. So, right. So, yeah, I mean, actually identifying, because we so often we have these panic attacks and we come out of them and we just go on about our life, getting busy and all that type of stuff like that. And we don't say, how did I get here? Right. And I think that's important with all sorts of stuff. I think that having things happen on accident is only really beneficial to you, like maybe once or twice. You need to know how to either duplicate those things or avoid those situations to begin with. Right. You know what I'm saying? Avoid those situations to begin with. So, I mean, it's all types of stuff. You know what I'm saying? Mr. Demore, what's good? What's good? It's all types of stuff. Like, you know what I'm saying? Just to keep it 100% funky and with all adults, you know what I'm saying? A lot of brothers, can make a woman have a climax, but they don't know how or why that even happened. Or you might have let's say again, when we're bringing it back to music production, you might be a singer-songwriter and you might have a song that hits, right? And you don't exactly know why it happened. You didn't study why it happened. So you say, okay, well, I don't know. Maybe they might have just liked the song, but somebody might have liked the tempo. They might have liked the whole production. They might have liked the way that the music producer and you as a singer-songwriter work together. If you're not the music producer, they might have liked the marketing. They might have, liked something that you were wearing or something like that. So to just evaluate what was it that got me to this place is so impactful. People put a fast one back. Right. It's so impactful. It's so impactful to your future success. is I believe that. And I found out, guys, that like I need to have sleep. You know what I'm saying? Well, I need to have sleep. Like if I am with my now 11th month old son, you know, I need to plan for the day accordingly. So I can't like just be with him. He might be up. And a lot of times, you know, a few months back, he was getting up at all intervals at nighttime, and I wasn't getting a good rest. Then I was like up, then I might have had like 2 hours of sleep. And then I'm like, all right, I'm going to go ahead and hit it, you know, doing a morning meetup and then hit business, you know, hit stuff that's on my agenda for the rest of the day. And I'm just like, oh, shoot, I remember having that time. So I think I talked about it on Soundboard Sundays. Yes. Right. So I'm having that time. And I'm just like, yo, I'm out of it right now. I can't do it. And, but understanding that I need sleep, that's what's so imperative to me. And now I can know, I'm like, all right, hey, everybody, hey, team. I know that I need to have sleep if I've got stuff that I need to be doing the next day. Or if I am saying, hey, I'm going to be on night duty, on night shift with my son, then I'm going to plan accordingly the next day and say, okay, I can time block a lot more of my brain, my mental work or administrative work that I need to do. I can time block that a little bit later on in the day after I've had like a nap and some meditation and, you know, and all that stuff. Right. Didn't crash. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, like, what else did she talk about in the interview? She talked about, they talked about Kanye West. Yeah. You know, and Kanye, and what y'all know what I want to talk about is the fact that like the media is so terrible. I happened to see this on like Dr. Boyce Watkins' page yesterday, on his IG page, where he was talking about how the Gap or people are petitioning the Gap to end their partnership relationship with Kanye West. And I'm like, first off, I know that these are a bunch of Karens and Kens. You know, again, we ain't talking about our demographic who enjoys hip hop, who enjoys our culture, who does not happen to be from the African diaspora. You know what I'm saying? We love you all, but we're talking about these people who are not involved, do not appreciate our culture, and just want to skewer every so-called black professional that there happens to be. Right. You know, and they love you one day, then they hate you the next. And I'm just like, I gotta talk about this. I do not like how SNL is allowing Pete Davidson to go all the way in, to use their platform to go all the way in on Kanye West. At the same token, I understand that they do that. You know, like they'll go all the way in on, you know, on whoever it is, you know, that does not kind of fall into that agenda. And also it is a popularity contest, so it is stuff in the news. And Pete Davidson, it's really weird that Pete Davidson is talking to Kanye West's ex-wife, but I'd heard that they were all like friends. Yeah. I'm like, that's real dirty. You know what I'm saying? That's real dirty. And again, for me and my culture, guys, that's the beautiful thing about America and potentially Canada, is that everybody can have their culture, and at least that's what it's supposed to seem, right? But we know underlying there's a dominant narrative and cultural narrative that kind of pushes, you know, the direction of this country. But we still can have all of our own presently wealthy. I love that name. Blessings. Glad to see you. We're talking about mental health, and we want to open up the floor if anybody wants to chime in, you know what I'm saying, talk about something that we've talked about on this episode of Soundboard Sundays, or want to share some of your wins, share some of your losses. I'm always a fan of courageous people who want to get on here and be vulnerable in front of an audience, because not only do you show your courage, it also is helpful to somebody else right now watching it or watching it on the replay. So we highly suggest that people tap in. Gotcha. Okay. Anel's going to come live. Oh, Anel, send
That's
Hold
it.
on. Okay, we're gonna go live with you in about a minute or so. Right. So I don't like. I forgot what I was saying, but going back to just the narrative of, again, like everybody loves Kanye, but he's just sharing he's being that creative.
That's it.
I don't know not one creative, y'all, who has not had like some struggle. Vincent Van Gogh, to paint all that stuff that we love. I just saw like a Van Gogh event, where they're showing all his artwork, but it's bound to cut off his own ear.
I was gonna ask you if you saw that the Grammys they banned him.
Who, Kanye?
Yeah. So that's
this is what I'm saying.
To like make an example out of him, that's
making an example. And I'm just like, look, like all these examples don't get made. Sorry guys, all these examples do not get made from the European diaspora in this specific country. And I got to speak on that, right? Y'all, I highly suggest everybody go watch, we're going to get you in 2 seconds. I highly suggest everybody watch Black Future Brunch, Kanye West, and like 30 or 40 other extremely successful so-called black folks, from people who work at Essence, people who is the like creative director at, I believe, at Fox Soul, all the way down the line, just a bunch of excellent black folks getting together and talking about, look, we don't care about your narratives anymore. Mm-hmm. These white establishments, we're not concerned about, like, can we get a job at Elle Magazine anymore? We don't need to be concerned about those things because they don't, it's not even arguable. People know that we push cool, specifically so-called Black Americans push cool around the world. I can say that as a fact. Mm-hmm. We push what is cool, right? And so when somebody wants to be down from any other demographic, I mean, look at all the hip hop and, y'all remember, anybody remember like the Russian woman from like, 7, 8, 9 years ago? She was a Russian woman teaching twerk classes, and that was getting major news, right? But Shantae from Louisiana, who grew up twerking, ain't no news about Shantae.
They discredit that. They demonize.
They discredit. It was the craziest thing, y'all. Like, again, ladies and gentlemen, if y'all don't know what twerking is, I'm sure you guys do, but it is something that started off in African countries. Different African countries have them right now, right? Women still twerk out of excitement. You know what I'm saying? Some dance called bakoko. I can't think of some of the other ones, but it's booty popping, right? It's completely different over there, but it's booty popping. And our ancestors brought that over here, and they just continued it, right? But none of the people are highlighted. None of the originators are highlighted. That's crazy. Similar to whining,
there you
right?
Go.
Whining and talk, right? You know what I'm saying? For the Caribbean folks.
Wine.
Everyone, that's a dope shirt. Everyone loves a slow wine. I need to see that. I need to see some of our Caribbean, Jamaican specifically folks say everyone loves a slow wine. That'd be absolutely amazing. Max said it, so you know what I'm saying. Again, y'all got to give him a little bit of a percentage. So, Anero, we're gonna see if we're gonna get you in here, bro. Going live with you, man, real quickly for Soundboard Sundays Mental Health Check-In Day. Slow wine. And now you over there writing a whole script, man. You over there
I was working on my show for Monday.
Yeah.
And the topic, I had a different topic that I was going to do, but then when you jacked me during my own interview and interviewed me, you gave me an idea for something else that's more important, because I think there's value in every, I want to put value in every episode, but there's so many things that you could talk about, right? And one of the things that came up when I was interviewing Matty and he turned it around and started interviewing me, was just about forgiveness. And I was like, man, that's a good one from the standpoint of relationships, right? I mean, you need to be able to manage whatever negative events happen successfully to keep on moving forward. But based on just the fact we brought it up, and I was like, I've had to like do some things, I definitely had to forgive myself, which is like, in the spectrum of forgiveness, a lot of people always talk about forgiving the person that hurt you, forgive the person that hurt you. And that's really the focus of whenever people talk about forgiveness. But I would say like probably the more important one, I don't know, they're both important, but there's one that's important that never gets talked about, and it's forgiving yourself, right? So like if you messed up, because you're just doing stupid stuff, and then it's hard to accept that because our egos, right? We don't want to like say, yeah, I was wrong, but like sometimes we're wrong. Like it's just how it goes. So it's hard to accept that and then turn around and forgive yourself. And so like, I just want to jump on here since this was the mental health one and just talk about, like, with your healing from whatever, like not forgiving, like what's the value of not forgiving, right? Yeah. There's no value in not forgiving. I'm not saying that you make it all, everything's great. We act like there's no problems and all that stuff. I might forgive you and never talk to you again. Like I might X you out of my life just because the dynamic is unmendable and unproductive. But if I hold on to the offense, all that does, and I'm gonna get nursey on you, all that does is keep my cortisol levels and all my stress hormones high. It keeps me like I'm in this state, like you're more prone to bad sleep, obesity, heart disease. I mean, you name it. Cancer,
bro, cancer, cortisol, stress. That is, keep going.
No, but you know what I'm saying? Like there's all these physiological things that happen. And in your mind, when you start getting into your amygdala and all that stuff, whenever you see something in your mind's eye, even your mind doesn't really know that that's not like, your mind knows it's not real, but it doesn't know it's not real. There's a part of your mind that gets activated like as if it was real. It's the same thing when I don't like my nephews watching people get shot and stuff. It's like, their mind doesn't know that that's not real and process that. But anyway, I don't want to digress. In your mind, every time you're holding that grudge and you're thinking about, well, I wish you're taking yourself right back to that exact same situation, spiking all your cortisol levels, all your hormones are all like you activate your nervous system. And it's like you're in this fight or flight state when you're just here writing.
Right.
Like there's nothing going on, but you took yourself right back into that event. And now you're all stressed out and acting all, everything is jacked up. Your blood pressure's high. Your heart rate's probably faster. All this stuff. And it's like, you got to learn to get rid of that. So that is the, why should I forgive? Because definitely I was raised with a mindset of not forgive and forget.
Right.
Like we're going to ride out.
Yeah.
And that's not beneficial when it's all said and done.
Can you tell me, E, because you've got Caribbean roots. We were talking about that earlier. This is something I want to talk about on the podcast episode that you interviewed me on. Okay, let me put a pin in that. Let me put a pin in that. But one thing I wanted to say is that I was in a really depressive state back in when I was like 18, 19, and I happened to read this book from this author. And his name is Richard Wurmbrand, right? So he's like a famous, like a Christian, like pastor, priest, author. And so he was put in solitary confinement. Matter of fact, the book was called With God in Solitary Confinement. So he was in jail for like 15 years for, I guess, being a Christian underneath the Russian regime or something like that. Cause they don't, you can't do that or whatever. I don't know. But so he was in solitary confinement for like 13 of those 15 years. Or something like that, like in some they're down in like floors all the way down, in cells, concrete cells or whatever like that. Yeah. But I was going through a depressive time, and I can only again attribute this to what I know is just divine intervention, which was I happened to read a point in his book, I'll never forget it, and he was just kind of the introduction was like, I had to learn to, he said he had to learn to forgive himself. And that was the very first time that I ever heard that.
Right.
That you actually need to forgive yourself for whatever. You know what I'm saying? For whatever. You need to forgive yourself for, not living up to somebody else's standards, not doing every single thing that you say that you're going to do. You need to actually forgive yourself for those things. But then again, look at it and say, okay, well, how can I actually do those things? Kimmy said that's those Caribbean roots. Okay, so that was the one part. And then the other thing, I was going to talk about is the Caribbean aspect and the forgiveness. So did you get anything in your household, besides did you get anything like, did your parents or talk about like how to actively deal with like forgiveness or just mental health stuff? Like, and what was the narrative with that? Like,
there was no talk of that because I mean, I had the focus was always on education, like legit, like above all, like forget how you feel. Nobody, like, there wasn't a lot of that. There wasn't a lot of touchy-feely things. There wasn't a lot of actual, like, interpersonal dynamic as far as, like, just what we would talk about. And also, like, okay, here's some things that could happen to you in life. And here's some, you've got to be prepared for this. And here's some ways to deal with it. It was in a lot of aspects. It was just like, hey, I'm gonna make sure you're at school. You're provided. I don't need any. There was never any want. Like all my needs were met. My wants, like, it was all good to go. Financially, we were straight, and it's like school. Right. Any emotional stuff's like, shut up. We got time for that. And then the be a man. Like there was that again, that what does that mean? I don't
what does it mean?
I don't know what it means, especially, and especially like before, because again, your brain's not fully developed at 25. So how am I going to, like, I don't even have a good conceptual thing. And it's a very nebulous, ill-defined term. Be a man. Well, I mean, genetically I'm a man, or at least I'm male. Like, what am I supposed to do? What's the, I love the fact that you had, I think you should, I don't know if you said it on here, but you should say what, based on your beliefs, like the qualifications and things you should do to the 8 things. Remember that from the
Oh man, when I tell you, man, that was a spirit moving, man. Like in the interview, bro, like they gotta see, that's the whole thing is that I want you guys to check out Side Piece Season. Because we really did go in, and it didn't have as much to do with music, although we incorporated that. But you got to see a lot more of the other elements and aspects of Matty and stuff like that. So I'm just gonna tell him, bro, just to stay tuned and to subscribe to your podcast. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
It was interesting.
Yeah, but it was really powerful. Yeah.
Yeah, what you said was really good, and it got me thinking about a bunch of different things. Which that's one of the things that I love, and that's why something like this is so important, regardless of whether the people are into music or not. Like, you're touching on this mental health aspect, and you put forth some ideas that people undoubtedly haven't heard before, right? Like you and Max are in here throwing stuff out there. Yes, it's about the music industry and entertainment and things like that, but it's specifically talking about, this mental health check-in thing is because everybody's got one of these, and then, whatever you're doing, you gotta get that working right for you. Like, if you're scatterbrained your brain, you're not gonna have a good result.
Right. Did you hear what we talked about? We talked about the fact that Sarah Wilson, who wrote a book, me and Max, we were just challenged to watch this interview and kind of just talk about it. But again, she was talking about people have to, she said something I never heard before either. She said, fight, flight, or freeze.
Yeah, I know that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you don't know fight or flight. Like, it's like, oh shit. So really, in the category, like it's always freeze, fight or flight.
Right. Exactly.
The very first thing you do is like, the tiger jumps out. You don't start fighting or running. The first thing you do when the tiger jumps out is stop. Like, whoa. Like,
oh,
that's a tiger.
Oh yeah, that's that warm feeling that I feel. That's pee actually coming down my foot. Yeah. That's urine. Yeah, that's urine. That's what's going on now.
Yeah.
Oh shoot, I gotta run. Yeah. No, you're right. You're right. But she talked about, and I thought that it was so interesting that she said that creative people, she's like, the person who creates the wheel has a level of bipolarity or anxiety, because it's what's needed to get out of the normal. And in this day and time, she's like, like there's like this press to become this normal person. So everybody's like bipolar. Not only that, or everybody's being diagnosed with bipolarity. And then not only that, but then we are looking to medicate it. And I think that that's got something to do with, just the sinister pharmaceutical and all that type of stuff that's got going on. Because here's the thing, is like, I think you're by trade, you're a nurse, right? You know what I'm saying? Stuff like that. I've always been like, the nurses, and not all the time, but in general, nurses are always the most caring people to the patients. And I'm like, why aren't the nurses the doctors? You know what I'm saying? Like, why aren't the nurses the doctors? Because I don't want some doctor coming in like, okay, this is person, 000 of this day. Okay, you need to get this. Bye. The nurse is the person who's actually like, okay, how are you feeling? So on and so forth. Can we do this? What's going to make you a little bit more comfortable? And I'm just like, what is that? Nurses always get like this, like, I don't know, kind of like this sort of subclass underneath like the doctors. And I'm like, it really be the nurses who really be like the goats in there. You know what I'm saying? And stuff like that. Yes, we don't all kill the patients. That's funny. Yeah.
I mean, I think that like I'm going to go back to your point about the medication thing.
Right.
I think that pharmaceutical companies and to a large part, like the medical system in general, just don't do a good job of, like, there's not enough consideration of the total person. And there is they lean towards like, oh, we can fix it with this, like a quick fix, right? Like a pill for everything. Right. So, like there's so much of this ADHD stuff and like all these kids on Ritalin and stuff like that. And I mean, that stuff is just barely different enough from meth.
Right, bro. You know what I mean? 100%.
And you're throwing into these kids whose, again, brains are still forming. Like you don't know longitudinally what the hell that's going to do to them. So like, I don't know, but it's this idea of like, oh, we can just make a pill for that. We can make a pill for that. So that's definitely that's an issue. Like they throw that out there. Like, which give me a pill, you'll be good to go. And a lot of the people that like prescribe, a lot of the doctors and other prescribers that are giving people Ritalin or whatever, they don't even know anything about, like, they know the basics about psychology and things like that. Child development,
100%.
like that. So, and then they're just throwing it out there. It's just willy-nilly, in my opinion.
Bro, because they get paid, bro. Like, can we be honest? Is that there are salespeople who their job is to sell specific medication and to get if you're in pharmaceutical sales, specifically in the hospitals, your job is to go to doctors and try to get your specific medication over the other, I guess, your competition's medication in the doctor's hand, and to get them to push that medication. So go ahead.
There's not as many people like actually go, like for all these ADHD drugs and stuff like that. There's not really a lot of them out there doing that. Like it's already in place where they just think like everybody's kind of accepted, like, oh, we just give them this pill and everything will be good. Right. You know what I mean? Like you there's so much wrong with the medical stuff. Like to really do it right, you would have to spend a lot of time with the patient. And that's not the way it's set up. Like, we can't, like, when we talked the other day, Matty, actually I talked to both of y'all. I interviewed both of y'all this week. Talked for interviewed for like around an hour and 20 minutes, but talked for probably closer to 3 hours, right?
Yeah.
You need interaction like that with your patient to really go through and get like a good, like, maybe not 3 hours, but you need a lot of time to talk, kind of understand their baseline, what's changed, what's different, what their goal is, all of that stuff. You really got like 20 minutes max with a patient. Right. You know what I mean? It's like, they just come in, like you said, that whole thing with the checklist, like, it's like, okay, all right,
that's it.
You know, and then they're just gone. It's not, you know, based on just the time constraints alone, it's not really, you know, you're set up for substandard care and quick fixes. And, you know, there's some things that, you know, are not going to be a quick fix. And, you know, throwing a pill at somebody just because, you know, I mean, I think ADHD, it's like this new thing that was invented, right? But, like, it's always, like, when I was a kid, if you put me by the window in class, I'm like, It's nothing new. It's nothing new. Like, it's always been like that. Like, if you don't engage the kids, which, how do you do that? Well, it's tricky because some kids need different things. But, you know, you got to engage the kids. If you don't engage them properly, they're kids. Like, of course they're bored with you, like, monotone, you know, you got this droll going on. And a lot of people just want quick fixes. That's why we have iPads and that's why we have, like, we have all of these things that, like, it's because it takes time and effort and energy. And sometimes you don't have the time, effort, and energy, which is horrible to, like, it's a horrible truth, but it's the truth, right? Like, sometimes you just don't have, if you're working and, you know, you got to deal with this stuff and you got a spouse and, you know, you could cut like 5 kids, whatever, even 1 kid. And a dog.
Either one. Hold on, you can't even listen. It might get a little bit easier when you got the whole tribe going on, but that one, you know, Max knows. Max did some babysitting over the week. He did some uncle babysitting.
So, you know, the desire for, because one thing that we can say about this, we're in an instant, like somebody called it Pop-Tart culture.
Yes.
Right? We want it quick, and we want everything quick. We want music quick. We want love quick. We want medicine quick. We want brain surgery quick. We want to again, with how much the porn industry being so big, people want to, like, climax quick and don't want to be involved with relationships. Just like, y'all know about, not even to cut you off, but right to that point though, y'all know that, like, I remember seeing this, y'all like saw like Japanese people are like having this, like, the men don't want to be with the women no more. And like the men are like getting like these really life-size robots and starting to spin like, yes.
You serious?
And so they have like, there's a generation like gap of like, they're almost about to run out of people. You know what I'm saying? Seriously. Kim Lee said, blessings, Sweet T84 joining. Blessings, Nate. Just wanted to shout some folks out real quickly. Kim Lee said, to your point earlier, Anero, that pill for one thing and it affects the patient's emotions, then give another pill to fix it. And she said, because Kim's profession is CNA, so she said talking to CNA and RN should be done by all doctors, but it's not. Yeah. You agree with that?
Yeah, definitely. Right. Definitely. I mean, and the whole thing, like I said, it all stems from time, because you have to. I don't know. It's just that whole thing is not designed for failure or for success.
Yeah.
Not designed for success, because you need more time than they are even allotted. Like, even if they wanted to, it's like, I got to see 16 patients in 8 hours.
Right. It's all whack.
It's a numbers game.
Yeah. It's all whack. It's all a numbers game. And going back to we're at 404, guys. So we got to wrap it up. But going back to that point, which is, I saw this woman, this this Eurocentric woman, again, writing a book that went against the narrative that's been going on for the past 30, 40 some odd years, in the dominant groups, the Eurocentric dominant groups. And I'm like, when you think back about it, because I love history and stuff like that. When you think back about it, there was always the witch doctor or the medicine man and things like that. And it was somebody inside of the village, inside of the group that was going to look after you, and not just like they weren't so busy with trying to put their kids through private school, trying to deal with potentially failing marriage, trying to deal with being up away from their family like 12 to 24 hours out of the day, for the medical folks and even music producers and stuff like that. I mean, some of that stuff being in the studio all night, and it's just unhealthy because it messes up your circadian rhythms and all sorts of stuff like that. But all of these factors, like we're still the same human beings that we were at the creation of mankind, and we're doing so much more and trying to like get pills and all sorts of stuff. I'm just like, look, like the way that the medical system, you guys, the way the medical system and psychology, it's caught up with some of our ancestors, what our ancestors were doing. Mm-hmm. So this is how I honestly do. I'm like, whenever there's some sort of new trend, I'm like, I'll see. We'll see about it, because it's almost like the dominant, European class. They put these narratives out there, and that's law for the time being. And then they're going to circle back around. I mean, this has happened time and time again, where they've been like, well, actually, the thing that we were thinking 30 years ago is actually not even healthy. And so I'm like, well, the record is to let you all try it, you know what I'm saying, and see if it works for you guys. But we all should do our own thing. And if it makes sense, let's adopt different aspects of people's culture. But if it don't make sense, like there shouldn't be this push that everybody should be taking Ritalin. I remember hanging out with my homies, hanging out with my white friends, and they'd be chopping up. They would get their Adderall and Ritalin, chop that stuff up, and snort it.
Yeah.
Jeez.
So I'm like, wait a minute. They're snorting this. So why are children, just like you said earlier, Nero, why are children who are developmentally, like, they're being creative, they're being children, they're not supposed to be sitting down for 30, 45 minutes at a time, different classes and stuff like that. Then they get 30 minutes for recess, 45 minutes, 15 minutes each of lunch, 30 minutes for recess. Then they got to do the same thing, be back in class. They're doing that for 6 hours after day.
Yeah.
Of course they're jumping around. Like,
yeah,
of course they're jumping around.
Dude, there's so many tangents that if you start getting me on that, because like one of the things, it's dope that like I'm in Arizona, Max is up in Toronto, right? Montreal, and you're
Montreal.
Yeah, and you're over there in North Carolina or DC?
Yeah, I'm in North.
Okay,
I'm in the North. Yeah.
So we all can be here and have this conversation, and that's dope, right? Like that. As far as the technology goes, that's dope. But like one of the things that just a human need, a basic human need, is actual physical touch.
Yes.
So we can mentally have this conversation and have, it can spark all kinds of awesome ideas and a movement even. Like we could do all of these things, but like no matter what, this that we have here is not, could never be, well, I don't know about never, but is in its current state, this is not the same as if we were all sitting at this table that I'm at and talking, and I'd be like, look, high five, good point.
Right.
Like, and that's the thing, like the necessity, the human necessity for touch is like, people always take it to like a sexual thing, and I'm not like, literally, if I was to like fist bump Max and fist bump you, that's touch. And that does something. That does something to your brain and your soul. And people. Oh, that soul, like that soul clap, what's up, bro? Like that's touch. Y'all ever watch the movies from like the 1940s where like the white dad's like son is going off to die in the military, and the father's like,
Let me give you a firm handshake. I'm like, if you don't get that man a hug, boy, he might not come if you don't get that boy a hug, man. I'm like, what is going on here?
Yeah.
That could improve your day. That could change your day. Just a simple handshake, you know?
Just a simple handshake.
Yeah.
Mayday MTL said technology is part of the damage. Back then, we went to meet people, didn't have no phone, so I guess they had to get out of their house and chill. What you just said, Anero, and what Mayday MTL is talking about, I just thought about, like, immediately I thought about how detrimental, or I thought about the negative effects of this metaverse, where everybody's doing like this, and in some sort of virtual space, and you're not touching nobody. And it reminds me of that movie Surrogate, if anybody saw that movie with Bruce Willis. It's like everybody's living in this alternative, I don't know, sort of fictitious space, and stuff like that. And that I'm just like, we don't know, but it's being pushed. So we're gonna figure it out. And people gonna label me as old school, but my kids cannot be involved with that type of stuff until it has been something that's been proven, that it works, and we've seen what goes on and what does not go on.
Yeah, I think this is what, like, there was something that I saw and a guy said, this was a long time ago when I was probably still in like high school, but I saw a guy and he said that for every invention that solves a problem, it creates at least 3 more problems.
Yeah, 10. Yep.
And I was like, and so, like, again, one of the basic human needs are touch. And if you don't believe it, like, go look at that documentary about the Romanian orphanage, where they didn't have enough staff, so they just didn't touch some of the kids, and the kids are all jacked up from it. Romanian
orphanage. If anybody knows that documentary, or can look it up right now, because we're on the phone. Yeah. If anybody can look it up, can you put the title in? Was it on YouTube?
I don't remember what I saw, but I'll find it and I'll send it to you. Like I'll send it to you guys, and we can come back some other time and convene. Maybe you guys check it out. But it's like crazy. Like they didn't touch the kids. Like they were babies and stuff. They didn't touch the kids for like weeks on end. Sometimes, sometimes they just change them and stuff like that. There was no, just rocking you, talking to you, none of that stuff. So that and the mental like deficits of the kids just being denied human interaction. It's fucking crazy. And that's that, like I think about this, like I said, like this is dope to me. I met cool people. It's good. But like everybody that I met that I'm cool with, I intend to meet in real life someday. I intend to be in North Carolina and say, "What's up, Matty?" I intend to go to Montreal and be like, "Max, what's up, man? Take me to the best restaurants around here. What you got popping off? Speak some French to these girls and get them over here to talk to me." Like I intend to do all of that, right? It's dope in the meantime that we can do this. But yeah, man, it's like we're pulling away from the shit that makes us the most human and acting like.
I gotta chime in real quickly. We gotta keep the language on the PG for this specific podcast, bro. You know what I'm saying? It's all good. It's all good. I just had to say that because that's been the mode for this specific show. When you said that, and we don't even have time, but see, that's why these conversations are really good, because you just said kids, and I'm like, well, what about adults who are in jail doing solitary confinement and do not have physical touch? Or again, that whole jail psychology of like that's why I love the jails that will have like the kind of the animal programs or whatever like that, where they can like adopt like an animal. Cause I'm like, what type of rehabilitation y'all really doing? And we can see that they're not really rehabilitating anybody. And on that, we have to put a hairpin in this conversation, bro. Much love, E. I love you, man, coming through, bro. It's always a blessing. Your perspective is always sharp, man. You know what I'm saying?
Love you guys.
Always sharp, bro. Likewise, my man.
That was amazing.
That was definitely amazing. Guys, that is Soundboard Sundays, episode 42, Mental Health Check-In Day. It is sponsored today by how to make a $2.3 million beat, how to 10x your current beat catalog masterclass that I'm doing live on the 23rd, 24th, and 25th of this month. Registration closes today, so you need to get in. Max, let them know about the 30-day challenge.
I was going to say, I hope they're excited about what you got going on. So it's brought to you by my 30-day challenge, helping emerging artists do multiple things, including helping them create a content calendar, having a content calendar that's going to help you create content on a daily basis. On top of that, it helps you also with the release of an album, EP, or a single. So if you have a problem with structuring your album or your EP or the rollout of it, then you need to join the challenge. And on top of that, it gives you the ability to speak directly to the core audience in order to really know how you could connect with them and learn more about them. So if ever you feel like you need all three of them or even more, definitely join the challenge. At two options, right? At the moment, I have the 97 option, which is where you get the challenge. And on top of that, you get a list of 10 books you could read and 10 podcasts you want to listen to. If ever you feel like you need the VIP option, is when you join the challenge, and you get to have access to my private community. With the private community, there's other artists who are going to be part of it. They're going to answer your questions. I could answer some of your questions as well, and we have a call once a month.
Well, no, guys, it's been an absolute blessing, man.